Visa Halftime Report is brought to you by Visa. It's everywhere NFL fans want to be.
Donovan McNabb under pressure all first half. Look at him poised under pressure as he finds Nate Brown with that 5-yard strike. Philadelphia on top of the Bucs by 11 at the half. As we bring you back to the Fox Network Center here for the Visa Halftime Report. The Philadelphia Eagles on top of the Bucs at the half, and Howie McNabb looking very impressive and poised.
Yeah, nothing's been beat to death more, JB, than how do you keep Donovan McNabb in the pocket? That is the biggest problem Tampa Bay's defense has been faced with. Here you see left defensive end Chidi Hanatu decides to come underneath the block, lose contain. Donovan McNabb picks up 10 yards down to the 5, which helps set up this 3rd and 5. Quarterback sneak. Everyone in the stadium knows it's going to be a quarterback sneak, a la John Elway. But the play that I think turned the game around for the Philadelphia Eagles was when George Hageman, left offensive tackle, blocked down for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, doubling the defensive tackle for what I saw as no apparent reason, leaving Warwick Dunn the responsibility of blocking Hugh Douglas on the backside one-on-one. Sack, fumble, turned the whole game around.
But, you know, it's funny. The one guy that the Eagles were concerned about coming into this game was Warwick Dunn. They didn't feel like they could blitz as long as he was in there because they were afraid he could hit a big play going down the field. But Warwick Dunn, for the most part, has been sitting on the bench in the first half. So what we've seen are the Eagles coming and coming often.
Yeah, and you're going to, you know, the one thing as a quarterback, especially a veteran, is if teams want to blitz you, you got man-to-man on the outside. The disrespect they've shown Donovan McNabb is, we don't think you have the talents to beat us. We're coming with 8-man rushes, blitzing, and they have gotten burned. Live by the blitz, you died by the blitz, and don't forget that field in the second half will almost be frozen.
Speaking of aggressive blitzing coming often, that's exactly what the Baltimore Ravens did earlier today in their victory over the Denver Broncos.
All right, Gus Verrett, can you handle it? Are you ready to go in the place of injured Brian Greasy? Well, let's see what happens on the other side. The Ravens, Trent Dilfer looking for Jamal Lewis. Ball pops up in the air. Bronco Terrell Buckley says, I can't handle it. Take it, Shannon Sharp. Says, thank you very much. Christmas a little late, but I'll go. 58 yards, touchdown. 14-3 Ravens. Then Jamal Lewis breaking tackles inside, outside, up the middle, 27 yards later. 21-3. Here comes the Gatorade. Here we come, Tennessee. Don't forget, Baltimore early in the year went to Nashville, and they beat the Tennessee Titans.
Ravens staying consistent with the theme all year long of not allowing many points, only 3 to the Broncos. And our own Jeannie Zelasco caught up with Ravens head coach Brian Billick.
Thanks, JB. Coach, you call the Denver Broncos offense one of the best, if not the best, in football. So where does that leave your defense, considering they got across the 50-yard line once?
Well, if you believe in my supposition about them being the best offense, I think that leaves us the best defense, and they deserve that title. I really do. There's some great defenses out there. We're going to play a great one next week against Tennessee. But I think what these guys have done over the frame of time that they've done it, the records, now into the playoffs against a high-caliber offense like that, they're pretty darn good.
Some concerns ending the season where your offense was at. They got back on track today, especially the ground game.
Well, that's been the key for us. Save the last game against New York, we've been able to run the ball all year long, and that was a disappointing thing in New York. To be able to come out and play a Denver team to control the line of scrimmage the way we did and run as hard as we did, and particularly early in the game, that's the way we're going to win. We're going to play great defense and run the ball.
All right, so looking forward to Tennessee, and they said that if they had to pick a team they didn't want to face, it would be you guys.
Well, I think that's out of respect. We have a great deal of respect for them. I know that they have a great deal of respect for us. It's a good rivalry, but there's no bitterness to it. It's just two teams that know they're well coached, disciplined, hard disciplined, high character teams, and every game we've played has been tight. And there's no reason to think this one's going to be any different.
All right, thank you. Congratulations. JB, back to you.
All right, Jeannie, thank you very much. Tennessee has outscored the last 3 opponents 90-3. This ought to be a sensational matchup.
And the Titans have to be able to run the football with Eddie George in order to be successful. And yet, in the 2 games they played against Baltimore this year, just 13 carries for 32 yards, and Eddie George was hurt in one of those games. Has not been a good opponent for Eddie George and the Titans.
Much has been made of who has the best defense in the National Football League. Chris, I know you feel very strongly about Baltimore. Tennessee did finish statistically as the #1 defense. You know they might have respect for one another. There's some bad blood. And Baltimore runs the ball pretty darn good, too. So this should be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, it's a perfect matchup if you're a football fan like we are. As you pointed out earlier in the show, Howie, the first, the second, and the third offensive teams in the playoffs out of the 12 teams are gone. The only one remaining are the Vikings. But the 2 teams next week between the Titans and the Ravens, great defense, Great running. Reminds us old Raiders-Steelers games.
All right, Buccaneers have a challenge on their hands in the second half as teams leading at the half in the Super Bowl era win 87% of the time. Pat and John after this.
Visa is proud to celebrate the fans this season. Visa, it's everywhere NFL fans want to be.